Welcome back for part 2 of Take Your Homeboy to Work Day podcast. We'll pick up where we left off. But before you go, we need your help to spread our message. So please subscribe, like, and rate 5 stars wherever you get your podcast and on LinkedIn at Take Your Homeboy to Work Day podcast. Thank you. Enjoy. Clearly you love what you do, and I imagine, maybe you're watching a TV show or a movie and it's about lawyers doing their work. Is there a show that you think did the best job of representing the work that you do? And is there a show that you think got it totally wrong?
That's a very, very good question. Obviously, what we see on TV is very sensationalized. Otherwise, we wouldn't be watching it. I'm thinking of well, I can say this. There was a movie. God dog it. I can't think of the name of it at this time. It was, golly, I can't recall it. But nonetheless, the premise is somebody was wrongfully convicted. And it's based upon Brian Stevenson, who's a civil rights attorney out of Alabama.
Just Mercy.
Just Mercy. You're exactly right. That's it.
Be Jordan.
That story that resonated with me because there were some experiences in that movie that I have very vivid memories of. Because I'm from Texas, live in Texas, practice in Southeast Texas, in a place that on the other side of the bridge, when CNN did a story about racism still in America, they were talking about that place, but they filmed it in Beaumont. So being in the South, there are real experiences. And then being a attorney of color, there's still not a lot of us. So there have been courtrooms that I've gone into throughout the state of Texas where I was the only Black person that was not a criminal defendant. From the people in the jury, to the judge, to the DAs, to the other criminal defense attorneys, to the bailiff, to the staff. I've walked in those type of situations. I've had situations where after a trial, the district attorney that I was trying the case against didn't want to shake my hands. I've been in situations where I've walked in a courtroom, and as I'm getting ready to walk where the other attorneys are, I'm asked, "Are you an attorney?" I've been in courtrooms where judges have treated me differently, and it was obvious to everyone to the extent where after the trial, the district attorneys have walked up to me and apologized. So
Wow.
Those, while it seems far-fetched, and we're not talking about in the 60s, we're talking about in the 2010s. And these are real experiences. And that movie resonated with me because I've represented people that, in my heart, I really do believe did not commit the offense they were accused of. But it was patently clear to me that, unfortunately, race played a role in that. And so when asked about movies such as that, is that sensationalized? No, that's the reality for a lot of people, unfortunately. But obviously there are those shows that are fun, that I enjoy watching, but I really honestly don't watch many lawyer shows. I never really have. That's just my experience.
That's fair.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just in case you need security next time, in some of these courtrooms where they want to act crazy, just call us.
I will. I will.
Don't say that.
We don't play.
Well, speaking of sensationalism, have you ever seen Diary of a Mad Black Woman?
Yes and no. I've seen parts.
Okay. Well, that to me is what sticks out as the most sensationalized case of a court gone wild.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you remember it, but basically when the defendant was found guilty, he somehow escaped from the security's grasps, grabbed the gun, and shot his attorney that didn't get him off.
Mhm.
clearly that was very sensationalized, a Tyler Perry film, if
Uh-huh.
you will. But what has been the most shocking or unpredictable experience that you've had as an attorney?
Oh, good question. I've had yeah, I've had quite a few. One that sticks out to me the most um, wasn't because it was a funny situation. I mean, there's been situations where not long after I left, somebody was found guilty and they ran and jumped over from the second floor. Those are crazy situations. But the one that sticks out to me, they or came to mind, should I say, I was trying a very difficult case some years ago. This was probably the first case where it got a lot of media attention. It was almost like a coming out party in the legal world out here for me in some regards. The circumstances around it was that it was a kid in middle school had called one of his friends from middle school, a young lady, to just hang out. My guy's mom was out of town, so the little brother asked the big brother, who was actually my client, would he, pick him up and would, just to hang out. So the big brother, little brother, they go get the little sister, and she asks her big sister to go. So they go out hanging out. They're drinking, doing the most is what kids do. And as they're driving around, uh, you know, the government asserted that my client was intoxicated and he got into an accident. Our position was that there was a vehicle that came in their way and they had to swerve out of the way. And when they swerved out of the way, they hit a curb. And if you have seen those wires that are connected to telephone poles, like those metal wires that go into the ground, uh,
Mhm,
yeah, the vehicle hit that, it shattered the window, and after the window shattered, they hit a tree in somebody's front yard. At that point, Big Brother backs up, drives back onto the street, goes to the end of the block, makes a left, goes down 2 blocks, makes a left, and now he gets to the stop sign of a major street. Uh, After this happened, obviously, Big Brother driving, little brother's in a passenger seat, big sister's in the back seat behind little brother, uh, and the little sister is behind the driver in the back seat. They're in a like a suburban.
mhm,
Get to the street. The young lady, the little sister's the big sister's hanging out the window. They're trying to pull her in. Little sister trying to pull her in. Can't come in. She's not responding. Because of the accident, the side mirror on the passenger side is knocked off. Little brother, when they're at the stop sign, gets out the car to try to help get her in the car. When he gets out, he sees that half of big sister's head is gone, literally. Uh, so little brother sees this. Little sister gets out the back driver's side, comes around the car, sees her sister. Uh,
mhm.
Little brother, middle school kid, doesn't know what to do, pulls the big sister out of the window onto the roadway, jumps in the car. Big brother, little brother leave. Big sister and little sister right there on the road. They go park under a bridge and, you know, try to figure out what they do. Mom is not in town, don't know what to do. That's what
Mm,
happened. So now we're fast forwarding to trial. Obviously, you can, from what I told you, circumstances are very difficult. Um, you know, uh, the you. I was asked one of the things that I talked to the jury about, and I think anybody would have to think about in that situation. Everybody say, "Oh, well, I can't believe they did that. I would have did this or did that." One, I believe you don't know what you would do in that situation unless you're in that situation. Two,
Mhm.
we're talking about this from the standpoint of grown adults, but we're talking about kids. What are they supposed to do as a kid? If you were a kid, what would you have done? So it was a very difficult trial. And there was a point in this trial where the little sister, she was on the stand and she had to identify her sister after the accident, meaning she had to look at a picture of her big sister uh, with half of her head gone. And as this is going on, she's on the stand. The district attorney is wanting her to look at the photo. She's crying. I can't. The district attorney is crying. By this time, people in the audience are crying. Some of the jurors are crying. And the judge ends up taking a recess. And at that moment, we went to the back. I went to the back of the chambers, and I'm in an area where they had coffee. And the moment of it all, the weight of it all, I started feeling it. Because at the end of the day, we're still people. This just happens to be my job. I still have feelings, even though I believe I do a very good job of being able to compartmentalize to a certain extent. I also recognize that I am a very uh, vulnerable person. I'm very in tune with how I feel, with how others feel, to the extent where I can watch a good commercial and I'm gonna get teary eyed and I'm gonna look away. But Mel, she knows
Yeah.
what's going on and she'll pick with me. But nonetheless, it was one of those moments where I was feeling it, and I felt like I was starting to well up, and there was a bailiff who I respect a lot, and in that moment is a black gentleman who used to be an officer for 40 plus years. He saw me. He said, Sean, stop. He said, tighten up. He said, never let him see you like that. And from that day, I control my emotions in many of situations. Even when I'm getting a verdict, uh, whether it's guilty or not guilty, I'm not going to show any emotion. I've been taught triumph and disaster are one and the same. I'm gonna do it that way. I'm not gonna get too high, not get too low. I'm gonna act like I've been there. And it's because of that type of experience is that I now have that ability to do that. So when we're talking about those made for TV moments, that was one of those moments, and it's a real moment. And there have been others, but that is one that came to mind when you posed that question.
Wow.
Damn.
Yes.
Damn. Man, I really appreciate this conversation because you brought a lot of humanity to this job. Whereas people think it is all about just finding the next dollar bill, finding the next client. So I love that you bring in humanity to this career and sharing your journey. And so with this next question, I think it's gonna be even more interesting getting your insight because I want you to think abstractly.
Hmm.
And imagine we've hired a painter for you, and we want to commemorate your career, what you do, into a scene or a picture. How would you describe that to the painter? How would you describe your career to the painter?
Wow, Ba. Good question. Then I like this question even more because I think by nature I'm an artist. That's hence my theater background.
Mhm.
And you've been to my house. Mel and I we are collectors ourselves. There's art in my office. There's art in my home. So I'm inspired. So if there was a moment, it would have to be something aspirational. As we're talking now, I'm looking out of my window in my office, looking over downtown. I believe the perspective would definitely be something important. Um, but whatever that picture is, it would have to be from the perspective of looking at me as I'm looking at something. Because I like to believe that I'm always looking forward to what I can do to help others, what I can do next to make whatever community I'm in better. Um, I the best way I can describe it is just looking forward. And looking forward that can mean a lot of different things at different times in your life. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're looking forward, right? Because in looking forward, sometimes we have to go back and change some things, or repair some things, or mend some things. And sometimes in looking forward, that means we have to go back and let go of some things. Um, but in trying to encapsulate what I believe that image, that piece of art would be, it would definitely be something of me looking forward over the horizon, uh, hopeful. Definitely some color. I can see a uh, orangish sunset of sorts, something similar to what we saw in Destin during that time we were together. But
Okay.
it's those type of moments that makes this all make sense. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's very vivid. That's great.
Awesome. Well, man, this has been an amazing conversation. From starting us off with the breakdown of law school and what each year is like, all the way up to some of the I guess memorable, I don't know if that's the right word,
Challenging.
Yeah.
challenging experiences. Uh, so I appreciate everything you shared, and we've come to the last question. And I
Okay.
hope you're ready for this. It's a surprise question I didn't prepare you for, but are you ready?
Yep.
All right. You have just been hired as an A&R executive at a music label, and you've been given an unlimited budget,
Mm.
and you get to create your favorite song. Which three musical artists
Mm.
and which one producer would you
Ooh,
put together into the studio to make this song?
that's easy. Um, that's easy.
And I
The
want to, especially you coming from Texas, I really want to hear this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so as I preface this, as I give this, I'm a preface it with saying is that even though I'm from Texas, Southeast Texas, UGK is literally the neighborhood, the city next door. Houston, some of the greats that came from there that we consider greats, the Lil Kikis, those type of folks that are special and near and dear to our heart. My exposure to music has always been so much more vast. Growing up, one of my favorite artists of growing up was Cannabis. I grew up on Goody Mob, Outkast, grew up on Nas, grew up on Jay-Z, grew up on all of those things from this little pocket in Beaumont in Southeast Texas. And then when I went to FAM, I was opened up to a whole nother world. And that's when I was introduced into jazz. And I'm really, really, really into jazz right now. And a lot of soulful music, because I just believe that's where a lot of the roots of what we listen to now. And I can appreciate the freestyle found in jazz as much as I can in hip hop because they're very similar. Those feelings of expression that we have, that we can express ourselves in these moments, where for many of us, people of color, those were the only spaces we can be free. And that's how I see music in a lot of ways. It's a space for us to be free and express, and it's okay to feel how we feel. So, with all that being said, the producer is Jay Dilla. I love Jay Dilla. I was introduced to him at FAM, and I just thought he was a brilliant, brilliant person that was doing things that the remnants and the influence of his contributions to society, to culture, to music is still felt to this day. So that's easy. Now, when it comes to artists, it gets a little bit more difficult simply because now I'm trying to figure out how do I sonically try to do this? Do I take from the past and the old? But first artist that came to mind is Kendrick Lamar. He's definitely on it. I think he's ahead of his time. When I'm thinking of my three albums in no particular arrangement of all times that I can listen to, if I can only listen to three pieces of music for the rest of my life, Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is in there. I think it was a very, very um, courageous and bold record. It was, I've never heard anything like it, where he truly, truly allowed Black men to be okay with understanding you're not the only one with trauma and you can get through it. And I think it's brilliant for that reason. The other album I think is brilliant is Marvin Gaye's What's Going On for very similar reasons. I think both of those albums are timeless. You can listen to it today, you can listen to it 20 years from now. It's still going to resonate, unfortunately or fortunately. And the last album is John Coltrane's A Love Supreme. Uh, the emotion and the reverence in that album, I think, is something that connects with me definitely spiritually, and the sonic aspect of it from the jazz background for me that's my core. If I need to listen to just a one jazz album, so with all that being said, as I said, Kendrick Lamar is definitely in it. J. Cole is my other artist. I love J. Cole from when he first came onto the scene because I felt like he was speaking from the space that we came from. We were college educated Black men, came from middle class experiences. So what he was talking about were things that I understood. But he also had the ability to reach folks that didn't come from those backgrounds simply because that was the same experience that I had. I come from a background, a family that is on one side is all college educated. To the other side of the family, I was the first college graduate. So it's definitely a J. Cole on there because of the substance, and I appreciate his sonic ear. And the last person is someone that I have always loved, 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 and I think this would create a interesting dynamic uh, to this particular arrangement. Would be Erica Badu. I would
Oh.
love to hear that type of record. Uh, yeah, that, and I know I went a lot further than what you asked for, but I think that would be it. Erica Badu, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, produced by Jay Dilla.
That is a powerhouse record right there.
Yes.
Respect, respect.
From all regions of the country too.
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
yep,
Nice.
yep. Awesome. Well, we've come to the point where we're going to round out the show. I've given my closing thoughts. I once again appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey, man. And I know that the listeners are going to find value in this. So I especially want people to go back and listen to some of the earlier parts where you talk about things you can do. If you know you want to go to law school and dedicate yourself to helping your community and others through law, some of the early things you could do, such as challenging courses, participate in the mock team trial, and listen to the early part of this this recording again. Stephanie, as my first ever guest host, what closing thoughts do you have?
Well, I have just thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, just like you said, the hard work that you have to have and the determination is really important. So I'm so grateful that you came on the show, Sean, to share your journey and hopefully encourage lots of other people that are listening to this to pursue their dreams. And one final thought, I mean, I know you picked 3 amazing people, but the fact that you could have gone to high school with Beyonce, we could have been on the Renaissance tour right now.
I'm
But
sorry.
you picked a great path. So we're so proud of you and happy that you were able to share your story with us today.
Thank you, and again, I'm so proud of y'all. I love this concept. I love this podcast. I appreciate you for giving many people the platform to exchange and express their experiences, so that others know they can do it. Because regardless of the hard work that it takes, this is something anybody can do. I'm not the brightest, I'm not the smartest, but I was willing to work. And if you're willing to work, this can be a very fulfilling and life-changing career and experience for anyone. So again, I thank you all for having me, and I look forward to the next guest you have, because now you got another listener.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, respect. We wish you all the best as your career grows, man, and have a great rest of the day. Hey, before you go, we need your help to spread our message. So please subscribe, like, and rate 5 stars wherever you get your podcast, and on LinkedIn at Take Your Homeboy to Work Day Podcast. Thank you.